Well, how wonderful is the living world? The wide range of living types is amazing. The extraordinary habitat in which we find living organisms, be it cold mountains, deciduous forests, ocean, freshwater lakes, desert, or hot spring, leave us speechless. The beauty of the galloping horse, of the migrating birds, the belly of flowers, or the attacking sharks evokes a, an a deep sense of wonder. The ecological conflict and cooperation among members of a population and among population of a community, or even the molecular traffic inside a cell, make us deeply reflect on what indeed is life. This question has two implicit questions within it. The first is a technical one and seeks answer to what living is as opposed to non-living. And the second is a philosophical one and seeks answer to what the purpose of life is. As scientists, we shall not attempt answering the second question. We will try to reflect on what is living. What is living? When we try to define living, we conventionally look for distinctive characteristics exhibited by living organism: growth, reproduction, ability to sense environment, and mount a suitable response comes to our mind immediately as unique feature of living organism. One can add a few more features like metabolism, ability to self-replicate, self-organize, interact, and emergence to this list. Let us try to understand each of these. All living organisms grow, increase in mass, and increase in numbers of individuals are twin characteristics of growth. A multicellular organism grows by cell division, and plants this growth by cell division occur continuously throughout their lifespan. In animals, this growth is seen only after a certain age. However, cell division occurs in certain tissue to replace lost cells. Unicellular organisms grow by cell division. One can easily observe this in vitro cultures by simply counting the numbers of the cells under a microscope. In majority of higher animals and plants, growth and reproduction are mutually exclusive events. One must remember that increase in body mass is considered as growth. Non-living objects also grow if we take increase in body mass as a criteria for growth. Mountains, boulders, and sand mounds to grow. However, this kind of growth exhibited by non-living objects is by accumulation of material on the surface. In living organisms, growth is from inside. Growth, therefore, cannot be taken as a defining property of living organism. Conditions under which it can be observed in all living organisms have to explain, and then we understand that it is a characteristic of living system. A dead organism does not grow. Reproduction, likewise, is a characteristic of living organism. In multicellular organism, reproduction refers to the production of progeny possessing features more or less similar to those of parents. Invariably and implicitly, we refer to sexual reproduction. Organisms reproduced by asexual means also fungi multiply and spread easily due to millions of asexual spores they produce. In lower organisms like yeast and hydra, we observe budding. In planaria, that is flatworm, we observe true regeneration. That is, a fragmented organism regenerates the lost part of its body and becomes a new organism. The fungi, the filamentous algae, the botanema, mosses all easily multiply by fragmentations when it comes to unicellular organisms like bacteria, unicellular algae, or amoeba. Reproduction is synonymous with growth, that is increase in number of cells. We have already define growth as equivalent to increase in the cell number or mass. Hence, we notice that in single-cell organisms, we are not very clear about the uses of these two terms, growth and reproduction. Further, there are many organisms which do not reproduce, that is, mules, sterile, worker bees, infertile human couples, etc. Hence, reproduction also cannot be an all-inclusive defining characteristic of living organism. Of course, no non-living object is capable of reproducing or replicating by itself. Another characteristic of life is metabolism. All living organisms are made of chemicals. These chemicals, small and big, belonging to various classes, size, functions, etc., are constantly being made and changed into some other biomolecules. These conversions are a chemical reaction or metabolic reactions. There are thousands of metabolic reactions occurring simultaneously inside all living organisms, be it unicellular or multicellular. All plants, animals, fungi, and microbes exhibit metabolism. The sum total of all chemical reactions occurring in our body is metabolism. No non-living object exhibits metabolism. Metabolic reaction can be demonstrated outside the body in cell-free system. An isolated metabolic reaction outside the body of an organism performed in a test tube is neither living nor non-living. Hence, while metabolism is a defining feature of all living organisms without exception, isolated metabolic reactions in vitro are not living things but surely living reactions. Hence, cellular organization of the body is the defining features of life forms. Perhaps the most obvious and technical complicated features of all living organism is the ability to sense their surrounding or environment and respond to this environmental stimuli, which could be physical, chemical, or biological. We sense our environment through our sense organs. Plants respond to external factors like light, water, temperatures, other organisms, pollutants, etc. All organisms, from the prokaryotes to the most complex eukaryotes, can sense in response to environmental cues. Water period affect the reproduction in seasonal breeders, both plants and animals. All organisms handle chemicals entering their bodies. All organisms, therefore, are aware of their surrounding. Human being is the only organism who is aware of himself, that is, has self-consciousness. Consciousness therefore becomes the defining property of living organisms. When it comes to human beings, it is all the more difficult to define the living state. We observe patients lying in a common hospital, virtually supported by machines which replace heart and lungs. The patient is otherwise brain dead. The patient has no self-consciousness. Are such patients who never come back to normal life, living or non-living? In higher classes, you will come to know that all living phenomena are due to underlying interaction properties of tissues are not present in the constituent cell but arise as a result of interaction among the constituent cell. Similarly, properties of cellular organelles are not present in the molecular constituents of the organelle but arise as a result of interaction among the molecular components comprising the organelles. This interaction results in emergent properties at a high level of organization. This phenomenon is true in the hierarchy of organizational complexity at all levels. Therefore, we can say that living organisms are self-replicating, evolving, and self-regulating interactive system capable of responding to external stimuli. Biology is the story of life on Earth. Biology is the story of evolution of living organisms on Earth. All living organisms, present, past, and future, are linked to one another by sharing of the common genetic material, but to varying degrees. Diversity in the living world. If you look around, you will see a large variety of living organisms be it potted plants, insects, birds, your pets, or other animals and plants. There are several organisms you cannot see with your naked eye, but they are all around you. If you were to increase the area that you make observations in, the range and variety of organisms that you see would increase. Obviously, if you were to visit a dead forest, you would probably see a much greater number and kinds of living organisms in it. Each different kind of plant, animal, or organism that you see represent as species. The number of species that are known and described range between 1.7 to 1.8 million. This refers to biodiversity or the numbers and the types of organisms present on Earth. We should remember here that as we explore new areas and even old ones, new organisms are continuously being identified. As stated earlier, there are millions of plants and animals in the world. We know the plants and animals in our own area by their local names. These local names would vary from place to place, even within a country. Probably you would recognize them. Confusion that would be created if we did not find ways and means to talk to each other to refer to organisms we are talking about. Hence, there is a need to standardize the naming of living organisms such that a particular organism is known by the same name all over the world. This process is called nomenclature. Obviously, nomenclature or naming is only possible when the organism is described correctly and we know to what organisms the name is attached to it. This is identification. In order to facilitate the study, numbers of scientists have established procedures to assign a scientific name to each known organism. This is acceptable to biologists all over the world. For plant scientific names and are based on agreed principles and criteria which are provided in International Code for Botanical Nomenclature (ICBN). You may ask, how are animals named? Animals' taxonomies have evolved. International Code of Geological Nomenclature (ICGN). The scientific names ensure that each organism has only one name. Description of any organism should enable the people in any part of the world to arrive at the same name. They also ensure that such a name has not been used for any other known organism. Biologists follow universally accepted principles to provide scientific name to no organism. Each name has two components, the generic name and the specific epithet. The system of providing a name with two components is called binomial nomenclature. This naming system given by Carolus Linnaeus is being practiced by biologists all over the world. This naming system using a two-word format was found convenient. Let us take the example of mango to understand the way of providing scientific names better. The scientific name of mango is written as Mangifera indica. Let us see how it is a binomial name. In this name, Mangifera represents the genus, while indica is a particular species or a specific epithet. Other universal rules of nomenclature are as follows. First, biological names are generally in Latin and written in italics. They are Latinized or derived from Latin irrespective of their origin. Second, the first word in a biological name represents the genus, while the second component denotes the specific epithet. Third, both the words in a biological name, when handwritten, are separately underlined or printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. Fourth, The first word denoting the genus starts with a capital letter, while the specific epithet starts with a small letter. It can be illustrated with the example of Mangifera indica. Name of the author appears after the specific epithet, that is at the end of the biological name, and is written in an abbreviated form. Example, Mangifera indica Linn. It indicates that this species was first described by Linnaeus. Since it is nearly impossible to study all the living organisms, it is necessary to devise some means to make this possible. This process is classification. Classification is the process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories based on some easily observable characters. For example, we easily recognize groups such as plants or animals or dog, cat, or insect. The moment we use any of these terms, we associate certain characters with the organism in that group. What image do you see when you think of a dog? Obviously, each one of us will see dog, not cat. Now, if we were to think of Alsatians, we know that we are talking about. Similarly, suppose we were to say mammals, you would of course think of animals with external ears and body hair. Likewise, in plants, if we try to talk of wheat, the picture in each of our mind will be of wheat plants, not of rice or any other plant. Hence, all these dog, cats, mammals, wheat, rice, plants, animals, etc. are convenient categories we use to study organisms. The scientific term for these categories is taxa. Here, we must recognize that taxa can indicate categories and very different level. Plant also form a taxa. Wheat is also a taxa. Similarly, animals, mammals, dog are all taxa. Wheat is therefore animals, mammals, and dogs represent taxa at different levels. And based on characteristic, all living organisms can be classified into different taxa. This process of classification is taxonomy. External and internal structure, along with the structure of cell development, process, and ecological information of organisms are essential and form the basis of modern taxonomy studies. Hence, characterization, identification, classification, and nomenclature are the processes that are basic taxonomy. Taxonomy is not something new. Human beings have already been interested in knowing more and more about the various kinds of organisms, particularly with reference to their own use. In early days, human beings needed to find sources for their basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter. Hence, the earliest classification were based on uses of various organisms. Human beings were since long not only interested in knowing more about different kinds of organisms and their diversities, but also the relationship among them. This branch of study was referred to as systematics. The word systematics is derived from the Latin word systema, which means systematic arrangement of organisms. Linnaeus used Systema Naturae as the title of his publication. The scope of systematic was later enlarged to include identification, nomenclature, and classification. Systematic takes into account evolutionary relationships between organisms. Taxonomy categories. Classification is not a single-step process but involves hierarchy of steps in which each step represents a rank or category. Since the category is a part of overall taxonomic arrangement, it is called taxonomic category. And all categories together constitute the taxonomic hierarchy. Each category, referred to as unit of classification, in fact, represents a rank and is commonly termed as taxon. Taxonomy categories and hierarchy can be illustrated by an example. Insect represents a group of organisms sharing common features like three pairs of jointed legs, it means insects are recognizable, concrete objects which can be classified and thus are given a rank or category. Can you name other such groups of organisms? Remember, groups represent category. Category further denotes rank. Each rank or taxon, in fact, represents a unit of classifications. These taxonomic groups or categories are distinct, biological, and that is and not merely morphological aggregates. Taxonomical studies of all non-organisms have led to the development of common categories such as kingdoms, phylum, or division, plants, class, order, family, genus, and species. All organisms, including those in the plant and animal kingdom, have species as the lowest categories. Now, the question you may ask is how to place an organisms in various categories. The basic requirements is the knowledge of characters of an individual or a group of organisms. This helps in identifying similarities and dissimilarities among the individuals of the same kind of organism as well as the other kind of organisms. First, that is species. Taxonomy studies consider a group of individual organisms with fundamental similarities as a species. One should be able to distinguish one species from the other closely related species based on the distinct morphological difference. Let us consider Mangifera indica, Solanum tuberosum, that is potato, and Panthera leo, lion. All these three names, indica, tuberosum, and leo, represent the specific epithet, while the first word, Mangifera, Solanum, and Panthera, are genera and presents another higher level of taxon or category. Each genus may have one or more than one specific epithets representing different organisms but having morphological similarities. For example, Panthera has another specific epithet called tigris. Solanum includes species like nigrum and melon and zena. Human beings belongs to the species sapiens, which is grouped in Homo, that is genus Homo. The scientific name thus for human being is written as Homo sapiens. Second, genus. Genus comprises a group of related species which has more characters in common. In comparison to species of other genera, we can say that genera are aggregates of closely related species. For example, potato and brinjal are two different species but belong to the genus Solanum. Lion, Panthera leo, and leopard, that is Panthera pardus, and tiger, Panthera tigris, with several common features, are all species of the genus Panthera. This genus differs from another genus Felis, which includes cats family. The next category, family, has a group of related genera with still less number of similarities as compared to genus and species. Families are characterized on the basis of both vegetative and reproductive features of plant species. Among plants, for example, three different genera, Solanum, Petronia, and Datura, are placed in the family of Solanaceae. Among animals, for example, genus Panthera comprising lion, tiger, leopard is put along with genus Felis cat in the family Felidae. Similarly, if you observe the feature of a cat and a dog, you will find some similarities and some differences as well. They are separated into two different families, that's Felidae and Canidae, respectively. Order. You have seen earlier that categories like species, genus, and families are based on a number of similar characters. Generally, order and other higher taxonomic categories are identified based on the aggregate of characters. Order being a higher category is the assemblage of family which exhibit few similar characters. The similar characters are less number as compared to different genera included in a family. Plant families like Convolvulaceae, Solanaceae are included in the order Polynomials mainly based on the floral characters. The animals order Carnivora includes families like Felidae and Canidae. Class. These categories include related orders. For example, order Primata, comprising monkey, gorilla, and gibbon is placed in class Mammalia, along with order Carnivora that includes animals like tiger, cat, and dog. Class Mammalia has other orders also. Phylum. Classes comprising animals like fishes, amphibians, reptiles, birds, along with mammals, constitute higher category, the next higher category called phylum. All this based on the common features like presence of notochord and dorsal hollow neural systems are included in phylum Chordata. In case of plants, classes with a few similar characters are assigned to a higher category called division. Kingdom. All animals belonging to various phyla are assigned to the higher category called kingdom. Animalia is the classification system of animals. The kingdom Plantae, on the other hand, uh, is distinct and comprises all plants from various divisions. Henceforth, we will refer to just two groups as animals and plant kingdom. The taxonomic categories from species to kingdom have been shown in ascending order, starting with species in Figure 1.1. These are broad categories. However, taxonomics have also developed subcategories in this hierarchy to facilitate more sound and scientific placement of various taxa. So look at the hierarchy in Figure 1.1. Can you recall the basis of arrangements that, for example, as we go higher from species to kingdom, the number of common character goes on decreasing. Lower the taxa, more the characters that the members within the taxa share. Higher the category, greater is difficulty of determining the relationships to other taxa at the same level. Hence, the problems of classification becomes more complex.